Shalom, shalom. It's your brother Makazai. You already know what this is. This is T.O.Z, Trumpets of Zion. I want to give all praise to the Most High through His Son. Some say Yahuwah, Yahushua. Some say Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. Regardless, want to give all praises. Calling us Negroes back to our God, the God of Israel. We are the true Israelites of the Bible. Also calling any submissive Gentiles that want to serve our God. You're also welcome. All right. So today's lesson in the midst of the Purim, uh, it was going to be on the Purim history or the historical proof of Purim, because you got a lot of people that, just like the Exodus, you have a lot of people that, which I plan on doing a presentation on the Exodus as well, or at least just showing proof of an Exodus and just showing that Israel was in Egypt. Okay. But in regards to Purim, you have some people that claim that Purim is not in Israel. You have people that say it's not a real feast day, or that, some people say the story never happened, it's fictional. You know what I'm saying? It's just a made up story, things like that. None of the characters were real, or, whatever. So today's lesson is basically just going into some artifacts, some proofs and things like that to show, and at the end of the day, you make your decision. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I have this scripture right here. This is Romans 3:3. It says, "For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect?" Okay. The Most High forbid. Yea, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mayest be justified in thy sayings and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Okay, so it's the scripture is in here, you know what I'm saying, or at the book of Esther, you know what I'm saying. So it's everything is put in there, you know what I'm saying, by the Most High. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get, some historical, and then also showing the Dead Sea Scrolls, because it was in the Dead Sea Scrolls as well. Okay, as well as some another source, another scripture per se, or another book that makes mention of Esther. Okay, but later, you know what I'm saying. So, but my point here is just showing, regardless of me doing this lesson and people, oh no, that's not, factual, and you know what I'm saying. Same thing with, you got like Egyptology. No matter how many sources we show, Jews in Africa, Jews went to West Africa. Oh, that's not verifiable. That's not, you know what I'm saying. Always nitpicking and stuff like that. So it's like, again, whether some believed or not, for what if some believe, if that is your belief going to stop the things of the Most High from happening? No. Okay, is it gonna? Yeah, like I say, you got those that are in the truth that claim it's a story, and because it's not in Leviticus 23. I mean, just like Feast of Dedication is not in Leviticus 23 yet, we see it in the New Testament. Okay, we see it in the New Testament. All right, and there's historical backing on that as well. Okay, so, and might even show that that it actually happened, the Hanukkah. All right, so let's get into it. So I had a presentation done, but I'm gonna uh, go into some of the stuff on these tabs as well. So let's get started. All right, and I have some of my notes as well. Um, Okay, because yeah, I was saying, I'm gonna be looking at my notes frequently, but I was saying that there's debates about the Bible, as history, but everyone trusts in Esau system, and the thing is, because a lot of these figures in the scriptures are in history, or you know what I'm saying. So like, again, we're gonna go into Xerxes. Okay, so that's who we would identify as Asuris in Esther. Okay, and his father Darius. We read about Darius also, and the Maccabees. You have Alexander. You know what I'm saying? You have Taharka. You know what I'm saying? Brothers. The Jews that never existed, but Taharka, Ethiopian king in Egypt, was aligned himself with Hezekiah, king of Judah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, so it was an invisible person. He just thought of it in his mind that he would help out a Jew. You know what I'm saying? So again, going back to the scriptures, what if some did not believe? All right. So okay, so this is the presentation that I did for Purim. Um, but I'm touching into the historical part of this presentation. So this says the pretext for Esther chapters. I'll be explaining historical proof of the main biblical figures involved in Purim, i.e., Esther, Mordecai, Asuras, and showing things that happen in scriptures in history, thus proving the scriptures are true. All right, so Asuras, okay, which the Hebrew is Ahas Varus, which I'll get it in the blue letter in a minute. But it says the title of Persian king and means lion king. Okay, four persons are mentioned by this title, so it was a title similar to Pharaoh. Pharaoh wasn't, or I believe in the meta netter is called the Nasut. Okay, Nasut. Okay, which is Pharaoh. Okay, so that's kind of like the title that we see here, but I'm gonna show in a minute that it's as we read number 3. It says the husband of Vashti and Esther, the same who was called Xerxes by the Greeks. Okay, because that's how they pronounce this name. That's how they came up with the pronunciation of Osiris was Xerxes. Okay, the marriage with Esther is assigned to the 7th year in which he returned to Shushan from his disastrous expedition to Greece. Okay, so this is Xerxes. It says the name is an attempt to transliterate into Greek Xerxes, the Persian Kasa Yersa. Okay, the same word is unpointed Hebrew took from the form kashras, uh, probably pronounced asa ras. But that, yeah, Salakia, because my Hebrew is not accurate. But it says, but at a later time, it was wrongly vocalized so as to produce ak Asaroth, from which Asuras and English versions of the Bible comes. Xerxes was king of Persia in 485 to 465 BC, and that's vital. A lot of times some of the dates and things like that might not be as accurate, but when we look at the time of Esther and the time of Xerxes, it's basically pinpointing that he had to be the particular king. But even with that being said, about the timeline and things like that, some of which I'm gonna get, some of his records basically match up with scripture. So of him, Xerxes being that guy, being the king at that time during Esther. All right. So it says the first part of his reign was marked by the famous campaign in Greece beginning in 483 after the defeat at Salamis. In 480, Xerxes himself withdrew from the expedition, and it was finally discontinued in the next year. During the remainder of his reign, Xerxes seemed to have spent a listless existence, absorbed in intrigues of the harem and leaving the government to be carried on his uh, ministers and favorites, often slaves. Okay, he was finally murdered by his visor and left an inevitable reputation for caprice and cruelty. Okay, so it says, yeah, harem. Okay, so he had a lot of women, which matches with what we see in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? So, and as well as which I'll get later, him being murdered. So assassination attempt, which again, what is that's when Mordecai comes into the picture. All right, so right there, we seeing this historical fact that already matches up with scripture. All right, so this is just more on the meaning of Osiris. All right, so again, Osiris at the bottom, also known as Xerxes, was the husband of Esther. Okay, and this is another breakdown of how Xerxes, as you see, see the Hebrew, and then you see how it goes into the English. All right, so just basically the breakdown of how Xerxes is. All right. So let's. I wanted to go into the blue letter real quick. All right. So even here, a title of the king of Persia, probably Xerxes. Okay. Asaroth. Okay, because some people even, some even in the Apocrypha it says Artaxerxes, which was the son of Xerxes, but it doesn't really match up with Artaxerxes, his son being the person of Purim. It more matches with Xerxes the first son, basically son of Darius.
Ahashverosh. Ahashverosh.
So Ahasveros. All right, so just wanted to show that real quick. Um, all right, so let's go back here. All right, so it says numerous scholars have proposed theories as to who Ashtoreth represents. Most scholars generally identify him with Xerxes the First of Persia, as did 19th century Bible commentaries. Three factors, among others, uh, contribute to this identification. It is agreed the Hebrew Osiris descended from the Persian names for Xerxes the First. Additionally, the form of the king's name written in Esther 10:1, Asiros, bears much more resemblance to the original Old Persian Asayasa than the standard Hebrew form, which did not omit the words Vavim. Uh, historian historian Herodotus records Xerxes the first having pensions of women and wine, as well as mentioning the king ruled from India to Ethiopia in a magnificent palace in Sushan, all of which the book of Esther corroborates. Okay, so even right there, here it is, and I'm gonna get the inscription, because instead of going to the Herodotus, I'd rather just get what the inscription says. But um, yeah, Herodotus records that, and again that matches up with the scripture. So right there, it's got to let you know that this is a historical event. You know what I'm saying? Has to be truth to it. Okay, so again, stuff that's in the scriptures are being, flourishing in history. Okay, so there shouldn't be no, oh, it never happened, or it's fictional, or it's a made up story, and all of this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it says Herodotus also mentions that Xerxes sought comfort in his harem following his defeat at Salamis. Okay, it says annals. I'm gonna keep thing getting in the way, but basically, annals from the reign of Xerxes first mentioned and otherwise unattested official by the name of Marduka, which some have proposed refers to Mordecai, as both are mentioned serving in the king's court. Okay, and I'm gonna later on a little bit. I'm gonna go into Mordecai's name, but his name is basically, a worshiper of or follower of Marduk, which is a false god of the Babylonians. And we know that Mordecai was from the Babylonian captivity. So again, gotta gotta make you understand that it has to be truth. That's truth. You know what I'm saying? So all right. Okay, so this is the archaeology in the book of Esther, okay, it's by Carrie A. Moore. It says historical sources account of Xerxes aligned with scripture. Much of what the author of Esther says about King Xerxes corresponds fairly well with what the classical writers had to say about such things. For example, as the extensiveness of Xerxes' empire, his nasty and at times irrational temper, and these are all the scriptures. Okay, so yeah, you remember basically what I called it. This, the whole thing with Vashti. That's that Nino Brown, New Jack City, cancel that chick, cancel that. You know what I'm saying? I'll get another one. You know what I'm saying? Because of her wickedness, or her bucking up to him. Which again, going back to the order of men and women back then is way different from now, and basically he wanted to shut that down because of, like we got the feminist movement, and not getting the women ideals to, usurp authority over the man. Okay, so yeah, basically, that's the cancel that chick scripture, you know what I'm saying? He'll get another one, which was, Esther, but, continuing right here. So are his extravagant promises and magnificent gifts. Moreover, there are a large number of incidental details of fact in the Esther story, which also seem to find confirmation in the classical writers. The Persian kings did have rousing drinking parties with magnificent drinking goblets and lavish entertainment, seven princely advisors. So all of these are what's in the scriptures, what we read about. All right. It says a very efficient postal system to give both a few of a large number of examples. And finally, there appears in Esther a score of words which are identified as Persian by classical writers. All right. So all right. So it says, let me see where I was going to start. It says, it was at his magnificent palace at Persepolis, for instance, that archaeologists discovered a foundation stone, in effect confirms or agrees with Xerxes' title and territorial claims in Esther. I am Xerxes, the great king, the only king, the king of all countries, which speak all kinds of languages, the king of this entire big and far reaching earth, the son of King Darius, the Arshaman, a Persian son of a Persian of Aryan descent. Thus speaks King Xerxes. These are the countries in addition to Persia, over which I'm king under the shadow of our Mazda, over which I hold sway, which bring their tribute to me, whatever is commanded by me, that they do, that they do, and they abide by my laws. All right, so it's a proof of Xerxes' rule in India, Ethiopia matches up with Esther 1:1. All right, so it says, I'm not gonna read everyone, I'm just gonna get to the point. But Media, Elam, okay, so at Babylonia, Assyria, it says Egypt, Monsieur, and that name, is close to Misraim, so showing that a lot of the languages were they had this related basically. Okay, because when you read, look at the Salmanazar or the Black Obelix artifact, it says how he conquered Egypt. Okay, he conquered Israel. He conquered Egypt. All right, and it showed that word Monsieur, okay, which is, again, Marzarium, you know what I'm saying, Marzarium, which we say in the Hebrew. All right, so just showing you that it was the languages are closely related. All right, which further shows the accuracy. All right, so but it also says India, as you can see, Cappadocia. Okay, and then at the end it says Kush. All right, so okay, so that's the divine inscription. Okay, for 480 BC. All right, you know, let me show a little more. Okay, so just basically, this is so you can see it clear. Uh, you know, you know, Egypt, India, pretty much the same thing that we just read. I just wanted to get another source, and this is, in there in the language. All right, so just showing you that King Xerxes had to be that king because it matches with what was brought out here, Esther 1:1. Okay, so from India even unto Ethiopia. Okay, over 107 and 20 provinces. All right, so it's just showing you that link up. All right, all right. So a relief with a representation of Persian King Xerxes the first, 5th century BC, Persepolis, and okay, Persepolis, you know, a place. Let's get it in the scriptures. All right, so I believe it's Second Maccabees 9. See the first Maccabees or second Maccabees. Yeah. All right. So it says, about that time came Antiochus with dishonor out of the country of Persia, for he had entered the city called Persepolis. Okay. So we just reading about Xerxes, being in Persepolis. Then we're seeing in the scriptures Antiochus, which is another historical figure, Antiochus Epiphanes, which is another historical figure, okay, and this area or this city, Partopoulos, mentioned in the scriptures. So what are you people's problems with uh, not believing the scriptures, okay, or not taking it as a historical document, a historical fact? Okay, so a lot of y'all, and like I said, even y'all in the true, I'm not gonna keep Purim because it seems like because they didn't say the Most High's name, or you know what I'm saying. So you don't have any trust in it. You know what I'm saying. But it's a lot of stuff is matching up. Okay, so I mean, and again, like I said, other Israelites in history were still keeping Purim, so it had to be something accurate to it. Okay, so. But it says, that's pretty much the point I wanted to show Persepolis. All right, so yeah, a lot of brothers and sisters, mad because, or saying because it's not in Leviticus 23, it's not accurate. But just even, non-believers, that believe Israel never existed and all of that kind of stuff. Um, this is for that as well. All right, so it says stone relief showing Darius and his son Xerxes giving audience at Persepolis. Um, all right, so this is the artifact right there. It says all the king's couriers and even the people of the king's provinces are well aware that there is one penalty for every man or woman who appears or who approaches the king inside the inner court without having been summoned to be put to death. The one expectation or exception being that person to whom the king extends the gold and scepter, so that he may live. Okay, and I have not been summoned to come to the king for the past 3 days, Esther. So, that's matching up with what was in Esther. That was the history. That's what they actually did, the Persians. All right. All right. So this is the tomb of the Archimede Charmanide. All right, so this is the tomb of the Archimede kings. It says Darius first, Artaxerxes, and Xerxes the first, carved out of the rock from rock face from 4 500 BC. The entrance to each tomb at the center of the cross opens onto a small chamber containing the king's sarcophagus. Okay, so the facades are thought to be replicas of the entrance of the palace at Parsipolis, Iran. Okay, so the Medes. All right, so and what's um, crazy about that? Well, not crazy, but it's because you have uh, the tomb of the patriarchs. So here it is, you guys. Here it is. You have the tomb of the patriarchs, or yeah, they say the cave of the patriarchs, or tomb of the patriarchs, and that's where they say that our forefather Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah were buried at. But y'all don't believe that. Y'all don't believe that. Oh, they never existed. There's no proof of Abraham, and and all of that kind of stuff. Which there's a lot of proof, and I might do something later on that. But just right here, you have the tomb of the patriarchs. But here, no one's gonna be like, well, Darius never existed, or you know what I'm saying. But no one's gonna be like Darius never existed. Um, yeah, no one's gonna be like Darius or Xerxes never existed because we don't see the body. You know, you know what I'm saying. So likewise, uh, you know Alexander. You know what I'm saying. Everybody want to see the body. No one's really seeing Alexander's body, or a lot of these kings, or rulers. But we running around here. Oh, it's accurate. It's all fact. But because you didn't find Abraham's body, or certain Israelites or Moses or something like that, you want to discredit the scriptures and say it's false. Okay, just like you haven't seen your great 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 grandfather, but yeah, that you're here because of him. Through him line, and then your father. The lineage, he had a son, a son, and you're here. Okay, but you never met him. You know what I'm saying? Probably never been to his grave, or never seen a body. Okay, but yeah, he was here. So likewise, yeah, again. So I'll be like, what's wrong with you people? You know what I'm saying? You take value in Esau school systems, and you know what I'm saying. But when it comes to the scriptures, something that's factual, we always have a problem. We want to debate the scriptures. We want to debate the authenticity of the scriptures. Okay, so and even like with the pharaohs, because you've seen a few pharaohs, and then some of the pharaohs, they got them looking like Edomites or white people. But yeah, then it's accurate and it's fact, because you've seen the body. Yet they're defacing the walls, and you know what I'm saying, iconoclasm and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So obviously they're gonna do that for Israel and make it so no one knows that the real Jews and Israelites were a people of color, Negroes. Okay, so again, all the Byzantine and the catacombs, and matter of fact, just so I can show, showing Esther, the Byzantine. Okay, so so these are the images of her in the Byzantine. All right, so So showing, yeah, her Byzantine, you know what I'm saying? Showing her as color, because obviously, yeah, some, oh, that's false or whatever. But again, we know that whitewash images, everything has been whitewashed. Okay, so that's why you can go on Google or something right now, and you're gonna see Esther. I'm looking at the peach cob, but now you can see Esther, and you're gonna see all of this. Okay, even let's see. Okay, so you're gonna see all of this. All right, whitewash images. But again, like I said, if the Romans back then said that the Jews were black, because the color of the Ethiopians, why is we seeing this? Okay, so that's a side note. All right, so all right, but going back here, just showing, have the tomb of the patriarchs. All right, so tomb of the patriarchs. So, all right, so Shushan, ancient ruins of Shushan, so which we hear about in the scriptures or in the story of Esther. In the Bible, the city is known primarily from the story of Esther, in which Haman the Agagite planned to annihilate the Jews of Persia. All right, so drop down. The city, is also mentioned in Nehemiah and Daniel, both of whom lived in the city during the 6th century BC. 6th century BC, in the period known as the Babylonian captivity, when a number of Jews were held captive following the siege of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, a tomb known as Shushan Daniel is believed to be that of Daniel himself. It is capped by an unusual white cone, which some believe was formerly a stone of Star of David. All right, so that's another thing. Brothers thinking the seal of David or the Star of David is wicked and Molech, and that's another story. But there's stuff out there showing that the star, what we see, the pointing, and whoever said that the star was 6 points. You have stars that are 13 points, 8 points, all type of points. You know what I'm saying? But and there was shown that we had that particular seal during when we were ruling in Europe. Okay. And a lily is 6 points. When you look at a lily, it's 6 points. You have a pomegranate when it buds, it's 6 points. But that's another story, or that's another topic. All right. So, but it says, according to an accepted tradition described by Rabbi Benjamin of Tudela in his book, Daniel's Grave is in Shushan. Okay. All right. So, checking my notes, but yeah, so basically showing you, even Daniel, the tomb of Daniel is in Shushan, a place that we read in Esther. Okay, so showing you the accuracy of these places that are mentioned in the scriptures. All right, so the remains of a spectacular sculpture in Shushan, Iran. Okay, so everything matches up as well. And another thing I want to add too is, even with the doctrine of Moab and Ammon, you know what I'm saying? See how we have the Medes, which is Iran, that's where the Persians, you know what I'm saying, still where they're at. And when did Moab and Ammon, and you see Ammon is the capital of Jordan, when did they go from there to China? You know what I'm saying? So that's just another thing, like how a lot of stuff is act just like Ethiopia today. Kush, still Ethiopia, still the same spot, still, you know what I'm saying, still the people there. There's not really any scriptures that say Moab went somewhere far east. You know what I'm saying? Even when you read um, Psalms 83, you see that it puts Ishmael, Moab, and then the Hagarenes, which is another Arab clan, together. All right, but this is a side note because, you know, just noticing and that, yeah, Persia, Iran, the Medes, you know, still same place. All right, to this day. All right, so you know, just showing a little bit more of Shushan. All right, so you know, going down, it says Cambyses, the second of Persia. It says Cambyses at the bottom. It says made the city capital of the Persian Empire, and Darius the Great built his monumental palace were there, which was added on to by his successor Xerxes the First. Okay, and then Artaxerxes the First. The biblical book of Esther is set in Shushan, where King Ahasuerus Xerxes threatened the Jews with genocide, and Esther saved them. All right. All right. So this is showing you the precept right there. Apocrypha, read that in Esther 12, 1 through 6. Also, you can read it in chapter 2 in the KJV, but it says, death of Xerxes in 465 BC. Xerxes was assassinated in his bedchamber by several of his court favorites. Okay, he was buried in a rock cut tomb excavated in a cliff to the east of his father's tomb. Xerxes' oldest son, Darius, was next line for successor, but a younger son, Artaxerxes, had Darius slain and took the throne for himself. There was a second emperor of the same name, Xerxes II, Artaxerxes' son, who ruled for just 45 days from the end of BCE era. BCE, however, his claim to the throne was tentative and was initially only certain in Shushan. One of his half brothers murdered him while he was drunk in bed following a party. So just showing you that matches up with scripture. Okay, so here it is, Xerxes, but it's just in their family line, everyone trying to kill, you know, to get the top spot. So we could see that Mordecai trying to shut that down when we read in Esther second chapter, as well as Apocrypha 12, 1 through 6, that there was assassination attempts on Xerxes, okay, or Cyrus. All right. So you know, again, that matches with scripture. All right. So matter of fact, let's get more on that. So yeah, this Wikipedia, you know, this I just wanted to go here to kind of go into the depth. But it says in August 465 BC, Artabanus, the commander of the royal bodyguard and the most powerful official in the Persian court, assassinated Xerxes with the help of a eunuch, as Purim Medres. Although Artabanus bore the same name as the famed uncle of Artaxerxes, a Hyrcanian, his rise to prominence was due to his popularity in religious quarters of the court and harem intrigues. He put his 7 sons in key positions and had a plan to dethrone the Archimedes. All right, so kind of basically the same thing. So just again, further showing you that, yeah, he was assassinated and that, you know, it matches up with scripture. All right, so from there, all right, so this is at the Louvre in Paris. I've been there, you know, and I saw a lot of artifacts and you know the things that they have over there. So this was Salakia. So yeah, this was from there. Okay, so in the National Museum in Iran. All right, so it says Queen Esther on the right in front of Atosa, Darius' wife and Xerxes' mother. Okay, so kind of just again showing you, and probably when she married Xerxes in 489 BC. Okay, because again going back to the timeline, you see that timeline that it shows that yeah, Xerxes had to be the king at that time. All right, so this is the Mordecai connection. Showing the Mordecai, um, being a person and being amongst Xerxes, um, and everything like that. So it says most relevant of all, and I'm gonna go into his name as well. Okay, most relevant of all is his undated text coming probably from either the last years of Darius the First or early years of Xerxes the First, where mention is made of a man named Mardukah who served as an accountant on an inspection tour from Shushan. Okay, this Mardukah could be the biblical Mordecai because, in all likelihood, Mordecai was an official of the king prior to his being invested in with the powers previously conferred on Haman. Okay, so basically, yeah, he had a position prior to everything with Haman. All right, so the reason for our saying this is that Mordecai is regularly described as one who sit at the king's gate, and according to Xenophon, and that's the source, and Herodotus, Persian officials had to stay at the gate of the royal palace. On this matter, the Greek version of Esther is even more explicit, for Mordecai uh, at the time Mordecai learned of the conspiracy against the king, he was already serving at the court of the king. Designation was evidently a regular part of Mordecai's title, i.e., Mordecai the Jew. More importantly, the inscription mentioning Mardukah is undated, and the possibility exists that it is numerously dated to the first 20 years of the 5th century BC. And finally, while Urnad believes that it is improbable that there are two Mardukahs as high officials in Shushan, the plain truth is that we have no idea of how common the name Mardukah was at that particular time and place. All in all, since the epigraphic evidence concerning Mardukah certainly prevents us from categorically ruling out as pure fiction the Mardukah episode in the book of Esther, it is safest for us to conclude that the story of Mordecai may very well have to it a kernel of truth. Okay, so, and again, the sources, by Carrie A. Moore, this is the same source. Okay, the archaeology and the book of Esther. All right, so, I wanted to show Mordecai's name origin. Um, okay, right here, just kind of showing that Mordecai, proper name, biblical cousin of Esther, from Hebrew, Mordecai, from Akkad, which is Babylonian, Marduk, chief of God of the city of Babylon. Okay, so you got a lot of people, that say that the story is not true because Esther had a name like a Persian name, and Mordecai. Even though the scriptures tell you, right here. And matter of fact, let's go look at Mordecai's name real quick. Okay, because Mordecai is like little man, worshiper of Mars. but it also means, like I said, it means a worshiper of Marduk. Okay, because remember, you got to remember that even he came from Babylon. All right, so as we see right here, he was in captivity in Babylon. So likewise with who? Daniel. Daniel had, when you read Daniel, first let me just get this show. So who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity, which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. So that's where Mordecai was. But also, again, you have to remember that just like today, we have the names of our captors. You know, okay, we don't have no longer have the name Israel. You know, Psalms 83. Okay, we no longer have that. Our heritage been taken away. Okay, Jeremiah 17:4. So likewise back then, showing you that, and again, that shows you that we're the Jews, because these fake Jews, when did they lose their names, their languages? Okay, so they still got Levy and all of that kind of stuff, but whereas we're Jackson, Johnson, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Jake B acting like Jackson and Johnson is, typical for Jake. Well, those were the white man last names, Andrew Jackson and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, we have the names of our slave masters. So likewise, they had it as well. This is Daniel 1 and 7. It says, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, okay, and then Hanah, Shadrach, and Mishael of Meshach, okay, and Azara, Abednego. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right, so Belteshazzar was Daniel's name in the Babylonian captivity. All right, so that's not a verifiable argument that the Purim is not accurate, because Mordecai is not a Hebrew name, and Esther is not a Hebrew, and even it tells you Esther's Hebrew name is Hadassah when you read in Esther. Okay, so it already told you she had a Hebrew name. Okay, so right here, Esther 2 and 7, and he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, okay, his uncle's daughter. Okay, so we see right here, Queen Esther's Jewish name. All right, so that's the Hebrew, her Hebrew name. Okay, and then let's look at Esther. Okay, because they say, it go back to a star, it could go back to a star, but okay, so this is just more on Mordecai, servant of Marduk, like I was saying. Okay, and or matter of fact, let me also show. Because it also Persian, because it said Mordecai, the name Mordecai. Okay, also Persian for little boy or little man. Okay, but it also could mean follower of Marduk. Okay, so it's just kind of matching it and showing you, it's not a reach. You know what I'm saying? It's not a reach, because again, it's the name is identical to what we've seen here of the Xerxes, one of the Xerxes, servants. Okay. All right. So here, wanted to go back here and show Esther. So Esther possibly means star in Persian. Okay. It could be alternately, it could be a derivative of the name of Near Eastern goddess Esther. So, like I said, because Esther and Mordecai, that means that, you know what I'm saying? Even in the New Testament, you had Israelites with the name Apollos. You know what I'm saying? You had Israelites with these Greek names and Roman names and things like that. So yeah, that argument is not, that's not a good argument. All right. So but we know her, yeah, down here, even it shows, yeah, her original Hebrew name was Hadessa. All right. So she had a Hebrew name. All right. So likewise, again, just showing in Daniel that we had the name of our captors, or we were given names by our captors. All right. All right. So that's, that's the connection with Mordecai. And like I said, you got the source is, right there. So if y'all want to check it out and read the whole thing on your own, you can go ahead. All right. So, and matter of fact, yeah, I wanted to get that scripture to back up what I was saying. All right, Second Ezra. So yeah, we know about Psalms 83. You know what I'm saying? We know about Psalms 83. But this is another precept. This is Second Ezra 2:7. It says, "Let them be scattered abroad among the heathen. Let their names be put out of the earth, for they have despised my covenant." So the Most High said, yeah, let our names be put out of the earth. So yeah, Israel, it could be twofold as far as, yeah, Israel. Yeah, we're not calling ourselves Israelites, but even just having, our Hebrew names and knowing about that is also taken away from us. Okay, so also you can link that up with Psalms 83 and Jeremiah 17:4. Okay, so let me close this out. I forgot if that was the last part of presentation. All right, so close this out. All right, and you also you can read in Antiquities of the Jews. Okay, right here. So we have Antiquities of the Jews, book 11. You can drop down to, read it, and I believe chapter 6. Yeah, so concerning Esther, Mordecai, and Haman. So he basically breaks that down. So if it wasn't a norm, it wasn't a normal thing in Israel that, yeah, Purim and Esther and the story, it wouldn't be so much on it. Even with Josephus and, yeah, right here with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, so Dead Sea Scrolls. All right, so you have the proto Esther. Okay, and I want to go down here. It says at the bottom, it says, "Look, and the failings of my fathers who had sinned before you, and peaceful, and left of his attendants a Jew from the chiefs of Benjamin. One of the diaspora stands up for an accusation and wishes a good diviner, a good man attended." You know what I'm saying? So, and then, up here, it talks about Darius, his father. So we know who the son was, which was Xerxes. Okay, so just showing you that it was in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, there was a lot of, I say, conspiracy over Esther and the Dead Sea Scroll text, and trying to, but there's enough here in these verses to show that it had to be some truth to the story of Esther. Even just right here, reading a Jew from the chiefs of Benjamin. I mean, off tops, you got to, okay, that got to be Mordecai. Okay, so, but there was a source, and I'm going to put it up, but basically how the scenes, the scenes in the Quran, how they were so strict and things like that, like the story of Esther probably didn't sit too well with them, of certain things, like her even being with the heathen, stuff like that. So that's probably why I didn't get much, I guess, notice in the Quran caves or the Dead Sea Scroll. Okay, so that's kind of one of the answers if you read that of why it didn't, why there's not much on it in the Dead Sea Scroll. But from the little that we do have of Esther being in the Dead Sea Scroll, it's enough to go off on and be okay. Well, the story happened. Okay, so like in all the other stuff that I brought out on Xerxes and the connection with Mordecai and you know what I'm saying, have to be enough to understand that this was an actual event and Purim is an actual feast day. Okay, so let me see. And like I said, I just showed the Josephus so you could read that on your own. Because it is basically just going into the story. All right, but I might do an extra, it might not necessarily, because this was, while we're in the middle of Purim, or, Purim just ended. But for those that might be keeping it, or, it's just in general, it's for learning purposes, okay, to be edified. So I might do something later on, more proof, more facts, things like that. So let's get let's get it in the scriptures. All right, so let's get it in the scriptures. This is First Clement. Okay, so and we always bring out Clement. All right, so and a lot of y'all have to understand, a lot of these lost books are accurate. Okay, and Clement is, was an Israelite. Okay, he came under the apostles. He heard the word from Barnabas. And that's the research. He heard the word from Barnabas, was I believe baptized by Peter. Okay, so but like I said, when you read First Clement 1 and 2, it's basically like you're reading something that's already in the New Testament. Everything backs up. Keep the commandments, even more than what we, because again, people be confused with Paul's writings. If you're reading Clement, everything is made clear. Okay, that you keep the commandments. We have faith in the Messiah. All right. So this is so I'm gonna bring out First Clement 22. Let me see. 22 and 24. All right, so right here it says 24. It says, nor did Esther, being perfect in faith, expose herself to any less hazard for the delivery of the 12 tribes of Israel in danger of being destroyed. For by fasting and humbling herself, she entreated the great maker of all things. So even Clement is writing that Esther, basically her faith, perfect in faith, her fasting, her humbling herself, entreated the great maker of all things. Okay, so again, everything went to the glory of the Most High. And again, it's a lot of our situations had that. Moses under the Egyptian captivity, Daniel, Joseph. Okay, so Esther was basically another. So it's not far fetched that a woman would get in a high position than Mordecai, her cousin, high position to help out Israel. Okay, through the Most High, calling on the Most High, asking the Most High for help. Fasting, praying, all of those things that we done in the past. Okay, so for deliverance. All right, so it said, for by fasting and humbling herself, she entreated the great maker of all things, the power of spirits, the God of spirits, so that beholding the humility of her soul, he delivered the people for whose sake she was in peril. Okay, so this is Clement. So showing you that Esther is in basically a New Testament book. Okay, so likewise, when we read in John 10, 22 and 23, that the Lord kept feast of dedication, that's not in Leviticus 23, but we know that when we read Daniel, the 8th chapter, that it links up with what's being talked about in the Maccabees. Okay, and that predates, the Daniel was before Maccabees. Okay, so we know that we know the first king of Greece was was Alexander. Okay, so we can't play semantics, can't play games. All right, so okay, and also you will read that in Josephus. Josephus confirms the Hanukkah as well, just like you see him right here. You talk going into Purim. All right. So the last one, Second Maccabees, 15:36. Okay, so this is, and again, for those that don't believe in the Apocrypha, that's on you. Okay, that's on you. But through, the stuff that I brought out, you can't get around it. You know what I'm saying? So it says, this is Second Maccabees 15:36. It says, and they ordain all with a common decree in no case to let that day pass without solemnity, but to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which in the Syrian tongue is called Adar, for the day before Mordecai's day. Okay, so now we know that Judas Maccabees and the Greek captivity was after Persia. So they calling it Mordecai Day, which is Purim, and they were saying, okay, we're gonna do Judas Maccabees Day, or we're gonna celebrate the destruction of Nicanor before Mordecai's Day, which was Purim. Okay, and when you read Purim, or when you read Esther and you read about Judas, it's ironic because they fought basically on the 13th, okay, of the 12th month. Okay, so it matches up, spiritually. All right, but as we see here that, they're saying, the day before Mordecai Day. All right, so that's how we know. Okay, they had to know about what happened with Esther and Mordecai. Okay, even for the name Mordecai is to be even mentioned, they had to know, okay, the story of Mordecai and our forefathers and how they defeated Haman. All right, so no more foolishness talking about, the Purim is not accurate and the names that because Esther, that's not a Hebrew name, and Mordecai, you know what I'm saying? So again, Xerxes showed the matching him, his inscription matching up with what's said in the scriptures, his lifestyle, which was matched up with what the scriptures say. Okay. So let me see if there's something else. I believe that's it. Yeah, that was pretty much it, for the lesson, So, anybody have questions or comments, concerns, anything like that, leave it in the comment board. Also, you could check my Instagram at Makaza, higher learning season. All right. Until the next time, shalom. Hope brothers and sisters was edified. Shalom.